toy fans of all ages. Scott ToyGuru Neitlich here, and I'm here today to talk about an issue that seems to come up on a lot of the boards lately, and that is, why do main characters continue to ship over and over again? For lines that have such a vast variety of characters, and even characters that have different, call it versions of themselves, what the toy industry calls a refresh, versus what I think a lot of fans call a variant. But in the industry, when you do a different version, it's called a refresh of a character. And, refreshes are very common, especially, and they're a necessary part for collector lines. For a collector line, you constantly need to refresh the characters and find new and exciting ways to bring them to fans, because for the adult to collector, the reason that we're buying these is really acquisition. It's all about having a full collection, having every figure we want, and being able to display it the way we want. I've done a couple videos about this on the channel and kind of the emotional connection between acquiring figures and the joy it brings. So the question is, for toy lines, even a toy line that feels like it's aimed at the adult collector, like say the Black Series here with Star Wars, why is it that we continue to get over and over again kind of the same characters, and sometimes even the same version of characters with just slight changes, like a new head? Well, to answer this question, we really have to look at the way kids are playing and collecting with toys. While as adult collectors, we are kind of thinking ourselves the center of the toy buying universe, I've mentioned in a few videos how really 80% of toy product is bought by parents and kids. Unless it's sold, on the collector back aisle at Target on that back wall, you're really dealing with a kid and a mom and a dad, or what we call a gift giver purchase, 80% of the time. Adult collectors tend to be sort of the icing on the cake for retail sales, helping them hit 100% of sales. All right, so why main characters? And I'm going to answer this in a couple ways. We're going to first take a little trip back in time, and I've mentioned this in a couple of the Motu videos about the infamous King Randor Scareglow wave from the vintage line, the retro line. It also had Clamp Champ and Ninjor, all figures that had very little tooling, new heads essentially, and cloth capes, compared to especially previous figures, in waves just before this, which had a lot of tooling. And the reason for this was a rush-to-market wave to meet retailer demand. Retailers were asking Mattel for more and more Masters of the Universe figures. But there was a miscommunication, because what they really wanted was more and more of the main characters, especially the main characters that appeared on the Filmation show. Mattel heard this, though, and it was definitely a misinterpretation, or I think one of those miscommunications of all toy time, because they pumped out tons and tons of these secondary characters, and especially these low tool characters, which, while they're cool, and I'm so glad we got Scareglow, I don't want to live in a world without Scareglow, but it's what led to the overshipment of Motu and the lack of getting those A-list characters on shelf. I honestly often wonder what would have happened if instead of the Scareglow wave, Mattel had shipped more Man-at-Arms, Skeletor, Beastman, and He-Man. Would Motu have stayed on shelf? Would it have been that evergreen line that never went away? It does make you wonder. All right, let's switch gears to a modern line. The Simpsons World of Springfield. I love this line. It's one of my favorite modern lines. Can you even say modern? Because it's like over 10, 15 years old at this point. Oh, I feel old. All right. The World of Springfield line is awesome. It had pretty much almost every character that appeared on the show in plastic form. And they looked great, they were bright, they were colorful, they were awesome. It went really, really deep. But it did tail off, and it kind of ended a little soon. And I think one of the reasons is because of the lack of main characters. Now, obviously, they kept Bart out there a ton, and they kept Homer out there a ton. You could buy Homer in everything from his underwear to him envisioned as the devil or King Kong. There were no lack of Homers. But what's key is the only time they ever made sort of the quintessential version of Homer, the one that we all know, was in the first wave. The first wave had Homer in his white t-shirt, his blue jeans, he had some cool accessories, Duff beer, potato chips, etc., remote control, half-eaten donut. This was basically the Homer to start your collection with. Now, there was a way to get this Homer later on. He did come in the Alien set with a new head. And I actually love this Homer because, again, it's the same Homer, but just with a different expression on his face. But you still get sort of the version you know the most, as opposed to many of the variants. This is one of my personally favorite variants, Deep Space Homer, because he came with the inanimate carbon rod, and any figure that comes with an inanimate carbon rod is A+ in my book. But is this the Homer that fans want to start their collection with? And the answer is not especially. In hindsight, if I had been on this line, I think doing new heads, like doing Homer doing the woohoo look. Homer has a lot of very iconic face gestures. Another one would be the dough Homer. If they had hypothetically done new heads of Homer on that existing basic body, in my mind, that would have been a way to keep the line going. Similar to the Clerks Staction figures, most of the Simpson figures were really there for display. So doing characters in their very expressive facial features might have been a great way to do a refresh, especially on a figure like Homer, where that's the character you want to start your collection off with, and you want him in his original outfit. So this kind of brings us over to Star Wars and kind of some of the questions I see a lot online with people saying, why are we getting, the same versions of characters over and over again? I already have this figure. It's just in new packaging or the slightly different deco, be it on the body or, improved face deco. Like this version, they have the what I call the Kodak Moment figures, where they use the photoreal paint on existing figures and reissue them. And collectors are asking over and over again, why? I already have this figure. Why not just make a new figure? Why do the same figure with just a slight upgrade, be it on a different package or, improved paint ops? And the reason is all back to economics and the cost of toys. Toys cost a lot of money to produce. A newly tooled figure can be upward to $100,000. Which is why, for example, in Marvel Legends, you usually see 5 or 6 partially tooled figures to the one fully tooled figure, like Beast here. I've used this example before, but it's a great example how all the other figures are basically new heads and new armor, and Beast is fully tooled. The partial tool figures pay for the fully tooled figure. The same is true for reissues. So when I was on the DCU Classics line at Mattel, we had reissued Batman and Superman and other A-listers in what we called all-star waves. Now, this was done both from an economical standpoint to help pay for and offset the cost of fully tooled figures, because a reissue, a figure that was just the same, that had no new tooling, was going to lower your overhead cost. But it wasn't just to reduce tooling. It was also a way to get these A-list characters out there again. And I know a lot of collectors will be saying, but why are you trying to get it out there again? Well, it's a necessary evil. It's a necessary evil to keeping collector lines out there. As I said, 80% of product lines are being sold to kids and gift givers. So reissues both drive down the tooling cost and help you acquire new customers. Whether it's a kid or a collector, nobody wants to start their collection off with a D-list hero or villain. They want the A-list characters. Yes, we all wanted Wilro Hood, right? The ice cream maker guy running in the background of Empire Strikes Back. But in order to get Wilro Hood, who was a fully tooled collector figure, you had to make a lot of Darth Vaders. The Darth Vaders are that necessary evil, his evil, that help pay for Wilro Hood. So, the next time you're out there shopping for toys and you're frustrated because you keep seeing the same sort of main characters out there over and over again, remember, if it wasn't for these characters being on shelf, you wouldn't be getting the collector-specific figures that you really want to fill out your collection. The reissues of your Homers and your Darth Vaders and your Supermans and your He-Mans, they're the ones keeping the line going, preventing it from overshipping, and ensuring we can get the collector figures we want. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, please do subscribe, Let me know in the comments below if you have other questions or comments. I definitely read them all. I try to answer as many as I can, but can't always get to all of them. So let me know. Always glad to hear your input. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you around the internet.